Hello, I was actually ready for once. Feels like a novelty that I expected the kitty. I think you muted, Sharon, but perfect.
Hello.
Hello, you're full screen now. Are you sorted?
Yay. I don't know, just suddenly hooked in. I don't know. It's very weird.
I don't question tech anymore. I just assume that it's going to mess up and then I'm pleasantly surprised when it does. So,
At least I know I can use the phone now if I need to. So
yeah.
that's always useful.
Yeah,
to
it was good. So what's the reading between all the tech issues?
So I've been reading A Werewolf's Diary, which is it's fantastic. It's told in diary form about an alpha who's trying to take over, and then he needs to create his own pack. So he's bitten this bloke, and he's turning. And all these strange things are happening to him, and his girlfriend doesn't know what's going on, and his boss is kind of, what's wrong with you? And every time he cuts himself, he heals. So yeah, it's very good.
So is the diary from the point of view of this person who's turning?
It's everybody's point of view. So it's the alpha's point of view, Matt, who's the man, Lisa's point of view is his girlfriend, James, the boss. Everybody's point of view is in diary form. It's really, really, it's like multimedia with reports in middle of it, of like, from the police and stuff about the attack, and it's really good. She's a very new author. She wrote a very short novella last year called The Hunt, and which was also about werewolves, which was 140 pages. It was only a short novella. This is a full novel. It's like 400 pages, which is a lot for a horror.
Yeah, it is. I think that's a good length, though, to have a little bit of room for like development and world building, and if there is so much mixed media as well, that's a bit of space, isn't it? Because I know that it takes up a lot of room in the mixed media sometimes.
So I have been, I am looking at it, editing it as I go as well, because it's on beta reading.
Oh, cool.
So, and she's asked me to edit if I can. So I'm doing that too, but because she's not English isn't her first language. So yeah.
That's really difficult, because writing a novel anyway and kind of being cohesive and clear and everything,
She's done
to be
so
doing it
well.
while you're translating.
She's doing so well. There's a couple of scenes that, I've just picked up on, but the actual way she's talking is like people talk. That's just, she's really down. I mean, she's married to an English person and her kids are English, so I guess she's around it a lot, isn't she? But, very impressed. She's written it in a very short time.
So, that's amazing. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Well, I'm enjoying my werewolf book that I'm reading as well. Sorry, my phone is refusing to snooze. It's got a message going off. So this
Werewolf Night.
Yeah, All the Hidden Monsters. I thought I'd just read while I was drinking my cup of tea. I read the first couple of chapters, and it's just one of those books that's immediately arresting the voice, the characters.
Yeah.
I can tell who the main characters are going to be, although we've met a few people. And it's just one of those that's a bit quirky and offbeat. Like, we've met a couple of ghosts, and the main character's a werewolf. And it's already hinted at the wolf kind of being beneath the surface, which I always like in a werewolf book. I think it always feels like a bit of a cop-out when the wolf's not there at all and they're just human and there's no other kind of consequence. I like it when you get to delve into the werewolf kind of psyche. So yeah, I think this is going to be really good. It feels like a little bit offbeat, which I like. I like it, reading a book and thinking, oh, I've not read anything like this before / for a while. So this is good. And I'm working on Mina. I'm nearly 300 pages through the 400 pages, rereading it. And yeah, it's coming together really nicely. There's still a couple of things I'm querying and some daft little things I've left in. Like I just found like half a line that I can tell is from a previous edit where I've taken one bit out, but I've forgotten to take the follow-up. So I think I'm noticing all the final little bits, and the proofreader's got it at the same time, so she will be picking up these things too. So I assume when I compile our edits, we'll have noticed a lot of the same things. So hopefully it'll all come together seamlessly. Just seeing
when have you got to get the final one to your publisher?
So January, I will get the proofread edits back, and I think I'll have a couple of weeks to turn that around. But it's being printed end of January, so that allows for basically.
Not long, is it?
No, it's not long. The proofreading edits will go in, and then I will get to check the final manuscript through. It's always a really quick turnaround, although it's 18 months between books. there's patches of quiet and then patches of go, 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 go. And this is the go, go, go patch. But like I said, I'm just taking it at my own pace now because I know that I've got a couple of weeks now to do this read through, get my edits on the PDF, and then when the proofreaders ones come, I can just apply those too. So it should all be fine. I'm starting to feel that confidence. I don't, midway through the process, I feel panicked, and then I start to feel confident as I'm nearly there with it. So
it won't be long. Won't be long.
No, it's exciting. I do have advice for this. Well done on finishing first draft. That's awesome. I would say leave it to breathe, because what I find now is I've literally got to edit as soon as I've written something, and you have no space to let it sit and just let your subconscious do work on what needs doing. Because I find it's all my conscious brain working on it all the time. And actually the best writing I do is when I've got time to just think and to let things sit. So do whatever you enjoy and need to do in this 2 weeks, especially because it's Christmas. Have a nice break. Because I bet your brain will be working on things. And if things come to you at that point, like you think, oh, this scene, I've just thought of a better way of doing it, I always jot that down. But then just leave it if I can, because having 2 weeks of complete space and then coming back to it a bit fresh is really good, because when you get on that treadmill of publication, you don't generally have time.
Just breathe into it. Just breathe, let it breathe, and you go and you're going to think about it. Especially if it's your first book, it's going to be on your mind, isn't it? So, but lots of distractions over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Mainly wine and food. So
yeah, I think
there's that.
I mean, I don't drink, but the food definitely I'll make.
Neither do I.
In the food. Yeah.
Hot chocolate and food.
Yeah, precisely. I got a hot chocolate advent calendar, and the sad thing is, because my throat's been sore on and off, I've not drunk that many of them because I don't really fancy hot chocolate when my throat feels weird. I don't think I'd be able to taste it properly. So I've got all these hot chocolates stacking up, and my son's gone a bit rogue and he's opened some of the doors at the wrong time. So I think I've got like one left between now and the end of and Christmas Day, because they just keep accidentally opening themselves. Look, I found another hot chocolate.
I've got 3 days of my book advent left.
Oh, excellent.
That's all of my book advent there. So 3 days left.
Were they new books or were they TBR books that you wrapped? So
basically, during the year, whenever I've bought books, hauled books, I've always put 1 or 2 to one side. So they kind of, just because I knew I was going to do it. So they're just like random ones, and like stuff. A couple of them I picked up second hands. Or I've picked up in like the works or something. I've just thrown them in a pile. Well, not thrown, so I don't throw books.
Gently placed.
Gently placed. Like all on the bottom shelf of my bookshelf, I just piled them up. And then I had more than I needed, so then I just randomly picked 24, wrapped them up, and then mixed them up.
Do you know what? I think it's really brilliant doing things and thinking in advance of something that is going to bring you little bits of joy. Like Christmas is a great time of year, but it can be hard, and I think the weather makes it really difficult for me. Like I really
stormy here today. I don't know what it's like with you, but it's a real stormy here today.
Really windy, really grey, and looks like the sky is going to burst open at any point. Nathan and I went for a walk earlier, and it was definitely, the wind was whipping around. A bit of our fence has come down, which is annoying.
Hello.
Sorry, my husband's on the phone now. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all right. We're going to go to a sprint in a minute anyway. I'm just going to see what the last couple of comments are. And then we'll jump to
Chloe.
I think it's the final sprint. Hi, Chloe. That sounds absolutely lovely. I've completely messed up on Goodreads this year and keep forgetting to update it. So I'm going to try at the end of the year and sit and do a mass update, because I have got my YouTube videos, but I also don't list the books underneath. So I'm going to have to click through my YouTube videos. So I'm sure I'll miss my ebooks and my audios that don't come up on screen. But I think I should at least get the gist of what I read this year. Occult books. I feel like you're the person to ask about that, Sharon. Can you recommend any good occult books?
Love Dennis Wheatley. The Devil Rides Out is incredible. I'll think about that, which ones I would recommend. They don't really, I can't think of any modern ones. I think most of the ones I always think, I love Ramsey. What's his first name? John Ramsey. He writes fantastic occult books. But
can't really think of any. I'm like,
they don't write them like they used to. Do Do you know what I mean? So
I'm
they
thinking of
tend
like
to.
possession. It's not really like possession. I'm thinking like possession stuff, like My Best Friend's Exorcism. That's not really a cult, is it? What would you say encapsulates an occult book?
So I would say it would involve like Ouija boards, witchcraft, kind of ritualistic stuff.
Okay.
I'm certainly I can think of quite a few ritualistic horrors.
I think does Adam Neville do some of that? I feel like Adam Neville did one called.
Is a
Was
more
it called
folk horror?
Rituals? Yeah.
So they're more folkloric horror.
Yeah.
But he is very good at writing. It's got it's a mix of they don't really have an occult genre now. It tends to be a folklore is what they use instead of occult because of the
Sorry, it's getting my brain
connotations.
turning. I'm thinking, oh, what can I do with that? The only thing that sprung to my mind is Frozen Charlotte starts with a Ouija board that sets a few things into motion. I'm sure there are more ways with Ouija boards. I do really like, not necessarily a cult, but the Cassidy Blake books have ghosts, and in the New Orleans one, there's definitely Ouija boards and contacting spirits and things like that. But I think that's probably not as dark as what you're looking for. You are so welcome.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's a really good, if you're looking for indies, a really good one is Nick Roberts. I've just recommended one of his books is coming out for next year, but he wrote The Exorcist's House and Anathema, and both of those are occult horrors. They're really, really good. Miracle Sim, which is one of my favourite books, it's my top book of the year, is a religious occult horror. Actually, very rare to find a religious horror, a really true religious horror. I'm bound to have loads, but just you can't think of them off the top of your head, can you?
No, they sound like great recommendations. I'm sure during the sprint as well, if you think of them, you can pop them in the comments.
Yeah.
As we go. I'm interested because I like the idea. I like the idea of the cult. That sounds wrong, but I like the idea of reading books about it, shall we say? But I can't actually think of anything that I've read. I've read some YAs that dip their toes into it, but nothing really like shocking and deep with it.
And you're right. Adam Neville wrote The Ruins and The Ritual.
Oh,
and those
yeah,
are occult, and those are occult horrors. So yeah. But I prefer his folklore stuff, especially his novellas. They're far more twisted and dark.
I haven't read any
which
yet.
is right on my alley.
I think I've got the couple that you just said, but I haven't read them. But like I said, I'm going to try and dip my toes into adult horror more because I'm really interested in how much I've enjoyed them this year. But I think it has to be specific, so I have to be really selective with adult horror and sort of take recommendations from people that I know have read them, read the content warnings.
And you have to know. I mean, not specifically triggers, because triggers is a specific thing. It's a specific mental health thing.
Yeah.
So it is actually complete panic. But a lot of people don't like reading stuff that have got certain content in, and that's understandable.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you need to, with adult horror, dependent on the level of horror you're looking at, if you're going for extreme horror, then you should assume everything's in there.
Yeah, that's the thing. When I hear extreme, I know that extreme sometimes it's very deliberate and things are chosen to shock and to start conversations. And I think I'm less interested in that. If it's in for gore's sake, if it's for a good reason, like I love it in the Scream films, like the gorier the better, because I think it's usually for a purpose. Even
it's normally things that are explicit, specifically, sexual assault or, or as you say, children or abuse, or ritualistic abuse, especially religious abuse. Any kind of abusive situation can be very, very different. They're very difficult. And extreme horror, a lot of it doesn't have a list of content warnings because there's too many. So usually will tell you what's not in it.
Yeah, I mean, some people have asked me about content warnings for mine, and so far I've not included them. And maybe at some point I will change my mind about that. But it's all in the blurb. So it talks about difficult interactions with family. It talks about bloody murder. And I don't think nobody's ever said to me, "Oh, you should have warned me about this." If they do, I'll kind of update that. But I think if you're reading something that is branded extreme horror, I don't think I'd be upset that there isn't a content warning, because just the same as if I'm reading like an abduction story, the sort of things you're going to get. So I personally
clues in the title.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's okay to list the main ones, the big ones. I think perhaps you should. I personally for me, I avoid the trigger warning page. I don't want it. It spoils it for me. But I understand other people need it. But if you're going to pick up a book that says extreme horror on the front, then you should expect that it's going to be the extreme version of everything you can imagine.
Yeah, I do think for YA, if it's something that you wouldn't expect to be in YA, I would put it, just because you're getting some kids who are, I get some parents who are who've got 9-10-year-olds coming to meet me, or occasionally online saying, would this be okay for my child to read? And I always just say, there's kissing, there's bloody murder, there's this. If that's okay, then yes, they can, it's up to you, it's up to them.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think YA, it is more tricky because there are people reading it that can, be exposed to things that they're maybe not ready for.
And I think that's a very fine line with traditionally published and indie. I think as you're traditionally published, somebody would pick that up if there was something too far over the line. In indie publishing, it's sometimes not picked up because you're self-publishing and often self-editing or using somebody like me as an editor, right? So it's more difficult. Do you know what I mean? I think you just have to be more sensitive to it.
Yeah, things can slip in, especially because it depends on your threshold as a reader. So if an editor's reading something, I would be reading and being really hypersensitive to anything to do with abuse, anything to do with children. My alerts would be firing. Whereas somebody who isn't hypersensitive to that wouldn't maybe in the same way. So I do think it's an interesting subject. And I think it's one where editors and authors have got to be quite adaptive and reflective. If something does come up, it's like, yes, in a future edition we would include one. I'll add one to my, when you hear authors say they'll add one to their website based on feedback they've had, I don't think you should have to change everything you've done because of our readers' experience, because that becomes a bit like policing somebody's imagination. But I think that
what's upsetting for one person isn't upsetting for another. It's very difficult. I try to, especially if I'm beta reading, which I do for several indie authors, I try and imagine myself that age, right? So all my stepchildren that age. So when one of my stepchildren was 14, would I've let him read this?
Yeah,
and that's how I do it in my head.
Yeah, and it depends on the child. I was a lot less sensitive to that when I was younger, which should surprise you now because I'm a real scaredy cat. But as a teen, I wasn't very sensitive to a lot of things, whereas my brother was more. So my mum would just police what we read and watched differently and talk to him more about the content in advance. She'd kind of read it first and go, yeah, you're fine. So, yeah.
See, because that one, the one you've got, slash tag, we were talking about it last night, that's actually incredibly gory. But I think you'll really enjoy it just because of the story.
Yeah.
Because, it's just such a fascinating story. And I think you'll enjoy it because of that.
With. You wouldn't think that I would be, but people being killed and it being quite on a superficial level and they're just trying to survive in that moment, I'm fine with. Aftermath I struggle with, like people then dealing with the grief afterwards, I would find harder than the actual being in the moment.
It doesn't bother me with adults. I think if it's all adults in the cast, then that doesn't bother me what happens to them. That sounds heartless. I don't mean it like that.
No, I get it. They put themselves in that situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're invited to a mysterious murder hotel, like to spend the night. I'm just gonna do that. Nothing will go wrong.
It's just such a fun premise. It's just such fun, and I love that kind of thing.
It's on I've got sort of varying degrees of piles at the moment, and it's on my read it soon pile. But at the moment, I've been really lucky. I've been getting loads of early copies of stuff. So I always try to prioritize those and read them before they come out. So anything that's already out just gets bumped further down. So there's loads of good stuff just sliding down the pile. Like I really want to read Catch Your Death by Ravina Garon as well. I did in November. It sounded so good. But because it's already out, it's going down my pile. And I'm really annoyed with myself because I really want to read it while it's still cold because it's a wintry thriller. So I'm going to try in December, January to get
I've got 13 books under my tree.
I don't think I've got many. I think my mum might have got
it's the Waterstone sale on Boxing Day.
Oh,
so that TBR ain't going down.
I'm going to definitely hit the Waterstone sale. But I've got one Junji Ito book that I bought myself, but for Kev to give me. And then I think I might have ordered a couple that my mum's got. I tend to send them to her house. She says get a couple of books for Christmas, so I don't even remember what they are, but I've ordered them to go there. So hopefully I'll have a few good things to read after Christmas. I think we've just got one more comment and then we'll do the last sprint. I'm just going to do...
It is, I agree. I love Hammer. Love Hammer horror.
I haven't watched enough of it. I need to. I'm like aware of it all and seen bits enough to kind of reference it, but...
Do you know, I told you I've started getting Scream magazine.
Yeah, I do buy it. If I see something that draws me in, I will get it.
I got the sub for the year. So this is all Hammer horror, which is brilliant. And I got the new one today, which is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, but I love Hammer horror. I remember watching them when I was a kid. You know, I absolutely love them. Although I tend to want to sing. Tend to want to sing the song.
Nothing wrong with that.
Kate Bush.
It's interesting, isn't it, how authors do have, like, so if it's completely, you know, paranormal, then
fantastical,
more descriptive, but with a human. And I've talked to a lot of authors about this as well, and I think different authors feel differently about like paranormal being scarier versus real being scarier. I find real scary because it could happen to me. I find paranormal really fun but less scary because I'm not that scared that I don't believe in certain things, therefore I don't believe they're going to come and get me.
It's like you were saying about the YA book. The reason it's so scary is because that actually happens in real life. When you read a book about a serial killer, that actually happens in real life.
Exactly.
That's far more frightening than, you know, some fantastical creature from another plane of existence, which is unlikely to be true. I'm not ruling it out, Amy, because you never know.
Well, this is it. I'm thinking that I don't ever dare to put these things out into the universe just in case they do exist. So Sharon and I are open-minded. Please don't come and haunt us if you're listening.
Cthulhu's calling.
We are just going to go to the next sprint. I'm just going to mark where we're up to in the comments, and then we'll catch up afterwards. This will be the last sprint. Unusually, I'm finishing a bit early because my voice is disappearing. I think Sharon's struggling too, although she's battling on like a trooper and not complaining as much as me.
It's because I've been on the phone for the last 2 days at work, catching up with everybody to get everything finished for the end of the year. So I've just spent like 8 hours a day talking.
Oh,
not that
so you'll have a bit of recovery time over Christmas. You deserve it. Right, let's put this timer on, and then we will go to the sprint.
Cup of tea.
Right, that's it. The end of Last Sprint.
Hello.
Sorry, falling over on my chair. Did you have a good sprint, Sheriff?
Yeah, he's very, very good. I'm going to carry on for a bit. I think he's he's just transformed into the werewolf for the first time, so it's really, really good.
I'm enjoying this one too. We haven't had, I'm not going to say too much, we haven't had much in the way of transformation yet, but we're already thick in the murder mystery. And it's one of those that, although it's gory and it's sad somebody's lost their friend, it's sort of fun and a bit silly as well. Like a detective is sort of investigating with a kind of non-detective. She's just an everyday person who has an interest in the case. So there's lots of kind of sparks and back and forth going with them. So I think their romance is incoming. That must be the roman part of the romantasy. But it's the kind of fantasy I like. It's sort of creatures without being bogged down by lots of details. It just has fairies and witches and ghosts and stuff in it.
And it's just a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
Exactly I like fantasy like that too, where it's just a little bit on the edge of, fantastical. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. And it's got sort of an interesting premise that there's an upside and a downside to the world, and certain creatures live in the downside part and certain live in the upside. So yeah, it's ticking all the boxes. I've read 44 pages. If you can hear strange noises, that is Kev wrapping presents next to us.
Did you manage to wrap the toy?
Yes, the enormous ones that I was wrapping the other night. Yeah, that one was fine. It was when I got to the very last present and I'd got this much wrapping paper left and a present sort of this big. And I really wanted to wrap all of Nathan's presents in the same wrapping paper. So I thought, right, I've got to get really creative here. So I ended up at a jaunty angle with bits all folded into the middle to make a weird, Christmas cracker looking thing.
I hate wrapping. I hate wrapping.
Do you know what? I find it quite soothing. I like that, making a neat edge, folding it over, stick it down. It looks nice. However, Kev just said, do I want to do the wrapping that he's doing for his friend? And I was like, I actually can't do any more wrapping. I've hit capacity. I enjoy it, but I've done mine now, so I just can't.
I don't know why I don't like it, because I do crafts, like paper crafting and jewelry and all sorts of stuff, which I love. But I just find it so boring.
It's a bit repetitive. I always find it a bit frustrating that I do get pleasure out of making it look nice. I sometimes put ribbons and bows and stuff on. For children, I don't bother because they just rip it off. Yeah. But it does just get ripped off. It gets ripped off and recycled, and I just find that a bit sad that you've made something beautiful that's going to get ripped apart. I almost think, what's the point? But anyway.
My husband's wrapped all my presents and they look lovely.
Oh,
far better than my wrapping.
We're the other way around. I do the pristine, neat wrapping that looks really presentable, and Kev does the sort of quick. Kev ripped the wrapping paper just now. He didn't cut it. He ripped it.
I just fold it and tear it. Yeah, I do.
That's what Kev just did, and I'm shocked. I don't think I've got the skill. I would try and rip it, and it would just do a zigzaggy. I just don't.
You have to commit to it. You say you have to just go. Just commit.
Yeah, I'd bottle it halfway through, and it would go woo. So no, not for me. Not for the faint of heart, definitely that. So let's see what the comments are saying. Yes,
yeah, I love the Rats trilogy. Yeah, I love the Rats trilogy.
I read one in my teens, I think, if not my early 20s, and it's a long time since.
It's a great. It's one of the best. You don't get many trilogies in horror, so it's it's a great trilogy. I love James Herbert, and the guy I was trying to think of earlier is called Ramsey Campbell, not John Ramsey. Ramsey Campbell.
You read one bit of it, right? That's very close.
It's been a very long term.
I feel like it's been a long year. My energy reserves are really low. Normally, I'm quite good at each day re-picking myself up to do my evening's work, and I've been really, really flagging with working in evenings at the moment. I think I just need. I'm going to do a bit of work over Christmas, but I do need a break.
I think that's because you stop. Well done, Adrian. It's because I've stopped now. My body knows I've stopped. And so now I just feel like...
Yeah, that's me. I
just want to collapse in a corner. Yeah.
Ooh. I'm going to have to write those down because I'm just... Is The Howling the same as the movie? I've seen the movie The Howling, if it's the same thing. Excellent. I'm getting more into werewolves. I used to very much vampires are ace. Not sure about werewolves, but I'm slowly realizing that werewolves can be cool. I think that Twilight I preferred the vampires to the werewolves, and I don't know. I've read lots of vampire stuff. I've read less werewolf stuff, so I think I've got less to kind of compare it to.
I think probably Aislinn's story changed your opinion.
Yeah, I
because
think
she
so.
made werewolves really cool. And
Yeah,
vampires cool. I mean, vampires cool anyway, but she made werewolves cool.
Well, that's why I wrote that short story in the which anthology was it? What was it called? Lurking in the Dark. Thank you, Kev. I'm so tired, I can't even remember. So I wrote that short story because I was like, I really want to write it about vampires initially. I thought, no, I can't write about vampires. Come on, do something else. So I thought, werewolves. I don't normally like werewolves. Let's try it. So I did that, and I was kind of riding this werewolf thing. And then a couple of months later, Aislinn's proof arrived, and it was like the werewolf book that I was craving after writing about them. So it did set me on a little werewolf kick, but I haven't been able to find much more of what I want. So this is what I wanted. So I'm really happy. Look at it shining too.
I think it's gorgeous. And also, I know you've got it as well, but Rachel Harrison's such sharp teeth is very good too.
Yeah, I've also got it on. I think
a more adult horror.
Yeah, I've got it on my Audible, definitely. That's gonna be, I think, my next Audible listen after I finish the Buffy one.
The banter between the sisters and the friend is it's brilliant. Very much like Aislinn's, but for an older audience, you know what I mean?
That's what I liked about Bad Dolls. It felt like a kind of grown-up YA book, if that makes sense. Like it had that kind of pithy, smart, concise thing that I like about YA, but also was obviously
a bit more adult.
Dealing with adult issues.
I like her writing too. Her writing's very smooth, so it's really easy to read.
It is. It's a rare author where I get an immediate urge. I need to read everything she's written like straight away. Yeah. I think I felt the same with Catriona Ward. I own all of her recent books, I think, like 4 or 5 of them. And that's the first one I picked up is the most recent. So I'm going to go back and read her back catalogue.
Little Eve is still my favourite.
Is
it Little? It's such a unique take on a cult.
I do need to get that then.
Yeah, it's very, very poetic as well. The language is very purple, so.
I like that. That's what Looking Glass Sound is like. It reads like literary fiction in a lot of places. Yeah. And it's this really kind of stark coastal landscape that's just described really beautifully. But then this creeping horror's there, and it gets quite dark in places. And then is that kind of horror that's quite dreamlike and has you just questioning what's real, can I trust myself? Can I trust anybody in this book? Sorry, Kev's being about as noisy.
Bless you.
He's like coughing in the background.
Yes, the way she writes imagery is really quite beautiful, I think. It's very evocative, her imagery. Catriona Ward, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start next year in January reading a few of their books. I'm going to pick up some Catriona Ward. I also really liked, is it Simone St. James who wrote, what did she write? She wrote something about a motel, which I haven't read. And then she wrote one about a true crime. Somebody who keeps a true crime website, and she ends up investigating something that's happening. And it's like one of those multi-generational books where you get to find out what the past. She meets this older, mysterious lady who was involved in a very sensational case, I think, a true crime case. I read it a long time ago. And since then, that book's been ticking over my head. I can't remember what it's called. I need to look it up. But after reading that, I went and bought a couple of other books, then proceeded to not read them.
I do love things that are in 2 time zones, like timelines where they have like past, present, and future. I love when they do that. I really
and when
enjoy
it knits
that
together really beautifully, when it's executed well, that is just perfection, isn't it? When you start to see all the parallels.
And you're like,
I think you'd like that.
That's what happened.
The Book of Cold Cases. That's what it's called. The Book of Cold Cases. I enjoyed it. It's a little bit slower paced than I'm used to, but it was like worth sticking with. And it's one of those where it's like, is this a haunted house or is it just like haunted people, if you know what I mean? Like, are they like, overcome with grief and things that have happened to them, or is there actually something insidious in this house? There was lots going on in it. I really liked it.
I just finished, by the way. I think you recommended Read, Scream and Repeat.
Oh yeah, I have got it. I've not read it yet. How was it?
it's middle grade, right? But actually, the stories are proper creepy. I mean, they're not scary for me, but for a child, I thought kids would love this. I would have loved this when I was like 7 or 8. But they're really good little stories. Kat Ellis's story is fantastic.
It's her first middle grade as well. I'm really pleased for her that she's managed to dip her toes into that, because her story in the anthology really creeped me out as well. I think that Kat is very, very good at getting under your skin and like really, you know, certain horror where you put it down, you're like, oh, something's followed me out of that book. That's what I always feel like when I read Kat's books.
She always starts very kind of, it feels like it's just going to be like an everyday, and then she has a way of twisting things so that when you finish, you're like, hang on.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
But, you know, Dawn's the same, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Dawn's books are like that.
Yeah, they are. They're quite different as authors, I think, but they have that commonality of that real, like, seeding dread and
just making it feel like, you know, you're not quite sure what you've read.
Yeah, I love that. I love,
and it sits in your head for a little bit and just kind of festers.
Yeah, that's definitely what
206 quid.
I always find that really galling when you know a book is brilliant and you just can't track it down. That's really annoying. It happens to me a lot, actually. You know, books that you track down that you remember you read years ago and you want to get a copy, and then you go, oh, I should have kept that 99p charity shop copy I got, because this is like that one, hundreds of pounds.
Do you remember a book when you might be too young, I think. When I was a kid, there was a book called The Dark Rising.
Yes, was it Susan Cooper?
Susan Cooper. And so you start reading it yesterday. So you start reading it on the 20th, and it goes through the next 30 days. And they have a readathon for it every year. Do you think I can get a copy of that? It's so expensive to get. Like, I wanted a vintage copy. I didn't want a new copy. Even the new copies are pretty expensive, but I wanted a copy from when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, because when I was a teacher, I used to teach year 5, and the year 6 teacher used to encourage her year 6s to read that book. So I remember we had quite a few copies knocking around in school, but I've not read it since I was a kid, I don't think.
Neither have I. And I just saw this readathon. I thought, what a great thing, it starts on the 20th. And so you can read like a chapter every day for 30 days. Or till the end of December. End of November.
Have you seen that Dracula Daily thing where they email you the whole Dracula book, but on the dates that line up with the book? So, and unfortunately, I just read Dracula when I did subscribe to them because I thought it was a fun idea, but then I didn't end up reading it because I just reread Dracula. But I think at some point I'm going to leave rereading Dracula for a while and then do that, because it would be so fun to read it on the dates like that actually are in the diaries and stuff like that. I think it's really clever when people can tease that out and like it just makes it more of an immersive reading experience.
It does. I had my order from Sinister Signs today.
Did you? What was it like?
So I've got a little thing that says "Bury me with books."
Oh, mine says "Read in peace." That I've got like that.
And then I got the Creature bookmark. I really wanted the Beetlejuice one, but she'd sold it out. So, and a couple of stickers, and I got a coaster saying "Bookish Bitch" on it.
Oh.
So yeah, beautifully packaged.
Beautifully packaged, like 3D printed, really lightweight, but like hard wearing. My vampire bookmark is one of my only bookmarks that hasn't been destroyed by a small person, because he pulls bookmarks out of the book to have a look at them, and then normally they end up like that. And he's tried with that one, but nothing happens to it. It's indestructible so far. I bet you could snap it if you really tried. But she sent me a vampire one and then a bespoke Slayer one.
It's all green and dripping. It says Creature. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
I was very impressed.
The vampire one, and then she did the Slayer one in the Mina font and in the Mina purple, and it's
that
not
was
actually
gorgeous.
Yeah. Made it for the book. Like, it's so lovely. Like, I think when you find somebody from a small business who like really cares about the community that they're in and just goes above and beyond for people, it's just amazing.
And she does those fingers, don't they? She's one who does the fingers that you got.
I did it on my latest post. They look amazing with books. I mean, I just stuck them there, but you can sort of actually pose books in them. They're quite delicate, so you have to be careful. But they look great. There's stuff hanging from them too.
Do you want to say hello to Amy? Say hello, Amy.
I'm in a proper animal mood today. I was just playing with my brother's Boston Terriers earlier, so I could do with a kitty cuddle right now.
He's gorgeous, aren't you? Yes, you are.
Yes. Right. It is late.
Right.
I've really enjoyed chatting, but I think I need to go to bed. So thank you for coming on tonight.
No worries, anytime. Sorry about the tech issues.
It is what it is, isn't it? We always have tech issues. Everybody does. So I'll be doing a sprint next Thursday, definitely. I may do one earlier in the week, but it depends how I feel. I feel like maybe not actually, because it's Christmas Day, isn't it? So maybe I'll not do one.
It's Boxing Day on Tuesday.
Yeah, possibly Boxing Day. I'll see where we are by that point. I might be too obsessed with Disney. I'm getting Disney Dreamlight Valley for Christmas, so I might just be playing on my Switch. I could sprint and Switch, I suppose, couldn't I?
Yeah, you could game on it. You know, people love watching people game on it.
I don't know how to do it.
Paula does it. Paula does it all the time, and she gets
Twitch. I know people do that Twitch thing, don't they, where you can actually see what people are playing. I'm too rubbish. I think I'd need to just be sitting there, and you can just pretend that I'm really good at it.
It's really relaxing to watch. It's kind of like visual ASMR. Yeah.
I'll look into that if I get any good at this game.
I don't game, so I don't know, but it's fun to watch. Hello, baby.
Yeah. Right. Well, night, and thank you, everyone. And so, definitely everyone. A week today. That might be the next time you see me. But I'll see you. It'll still be this year, won't it? So I'll see you next week in the comments, probably.
Take care, everyone. Bye.